Hey everyone, it's Liam the Deaf Doom Metalhead. Welcome to my channel. Now, you probably read the thumbnail and going, what the fuck is he talking about thrash metal for? And quite simply, the reason is, why not? So this video is basically reminding myself of my youth and why I used to love this genre of metal, and I'm kind of getting back into it very slowly. Because a lot of these CDs I haven't touched in years, or really remember them anymore. So I was born in 1989 and I got into metal probably about 99, 2000, just as I started high school. And back then, nu metal was king. We had Sky TV at home, so all the channels like Kerrang, MTV2, Scuzz, all they played was nu metal bands like Limp Bizkit, Slipknot, System of a Down, all that kind of thing. And for years and years and years, at the start of high school, that's all I listened to. I was a big fan of wrestling, and those kind of bands kind of tied in with that kind of vibe. Yeah, weird times now I think about it. But Korn was the one I used to just listen to the most. And as I got older through high school, I kind of wanted something with a bit more bite, a bit more to it on the guitar front, I guess. Because musically, I still enjoy the early stuff from Korn, but all those other bands I couldn't give a shit about anymore. And the only reason they still come up now and again in the house is because my wife is the same age as me and she listens to that stuff still. But for me, the band that got me into this thrash metal scene was Metallica, purely because on MTV, Kerrang, Scuzz, all their music videos would be played. So Enter Sandman's music video, the Blackened Tour live videos, and they kind of merged them all their concerts into one video for Wherever I May Roam. The Nothing Else Matters music video of them in the studio, One, that was another one I used to see a lot. And yeah, that band naturally was the first one I checked out. So I asked for the CD, or I bought it with my pocket money. I can't remember how I got it or where I got it. I think I was with my girlfriend at the time in Virgin Megastores when that was a thing. And I went and got a copy of the Black Album. This came out in 1991. I probably discovered this in 2004, 2003. So I was, very late to the party, and I had no idea about their previous albums, none of that. Just based off the music videos I heard, I went and got a copy of this. I mean, the album cover is shite. A band with that kind of money and they're putting out an album cover like that is shocking. And obviously Spinal Tap took the piss out of that, I think. There's a link to that. But yeah, shocking. But yeah, I love this album. It's not a thrash album by all means. To me, it's certainly not a thrash album. But this is the only kind of music I was listening to or was hearing. And people say, oh, they're a thrash band. Well, I can't remember who said it to me. Someone said they were a thrash band. Metallica were a thrash band. And, I was like, okay. And back then in high school, we had our own ICT suite. And Google had just put out their site, and you could use that to search the internet. And that is how I went on my way of finding new bands. I just Google Metallica, and it had linked to a website with all these other names. And one of them, the name kept popping up. And I did the old Wikipedia where you read up on Metallica's history, which I do with nearly all my bands still. And there's a mention of the name Dave Mustaine. So I checked out Dave Mustaine, and obviously he's in Megadeth. And this is one of the first CDs of theirs I brought, Countdown to Extinction. And again, all his music videos off this album were played at that time. So Sympathy of Destruction, Sweating Bullets was the main one though, that I used to see all the time of him talking to himself in that video. And I went out and bought this CD just purely off that music video. And this is a good album. I haven't listened to this in years though. I can't really remember much of it. Architecture of Aggression is probably the only one I really liked off this one. And Countdown to Extinction, the title track, I can't remember. But yeah, so Megadeth was another one. Big influence on me then. And I started getting into real thrashy stuff in my head anyway. And then, I don't know how I discovered them or where I heard the name, but the next step for me was Slayer. And I was in Nottingham with my girlfriend at the time. Her dad lived up that way, so we used to go and visit him there. And he took us into the city centre. We went to HMV, I think it was. And I saw this CD and the name and the cover, and I thought I had to have it. And that was Slayer's God Hates Us All. And it had a Bible with some nails in it and blood on it, and I thought, fuck yeah, I'm having that. And that was literally the only reason I bought it. I knew the name, and it came with a DVD, War in the Warfield, I think. I bought them both at the same time, either way. And if you've watched that DVD, that is hilarious. You got all the diehard fans screaming Slayer and cutting themselves, and that fat dude going, Slayer! Like that on the camera, and I was instantly hooked. And then you see the stories they say about a dude that fell off the balcony, but he still wanted to stay and headbang. You know, absolutely crazy. And I thought, that's brilliant. But then listening to the songs, because it's obviously got Jeff Hanneman and all the classics on there, Angel of Death, Capture of Sin, Rain in Blood, you know, all those songs, and I was instantly hooked, and I completely thought, you know, Metallica is shit now, Megadeth is shit, they've got nothing on these guys. This album is obviously not their thrashiest either. It's got 7-string guitars, it's more sludgy, slower, but the song God Hates Us All, for a young teenager, the lyrics are brilliant, you know, and I'm an atheist, I don't believe in any of that kind of thing, and it really, really spoke to me, and I still think it's brilliant. But Rain and Blood is my favourite, and then South of Heaven as well. They're absolute classics for me. I haven't got South of Heaven, annoyingly. I've got Rain and Blood though. I brought that one. But yeah, Slayer. So there was a big Slayer fan. Still am. They're probably the only thrash band I could say I easily listen to without a problem with Slayer. They're fucking awesome. And I saw them live. That was the last tour. I went to Newcastle to go see them because I couldn't see them in London because I had my boy that day. So I went all the way to Newcastle with my wife. And that's the first gig in a long time I was shouting and screaming at the top of my voice. Stood up, I had goosebumps on my arm. I was going absolutely mental. And my wife says that was the first time she's ever seen me do that at a gig. And we go to loads of gigs. So that was quite cool. But yeah, anyway, I digress. And then the next band was this one. I used to listen to this on school trips. This isn't the first album I listened to though. That's Annihilators, Alice in Hell. I discovered these guys, I can't remember the name of the album though, but it sounded very nu metal. It had Precious Lunatic Asylum was a track on it. So if you can tell me in the comments what album that's from, I could probably look it up later. But that was the album I listened to first of these guys, and I dismissed it. It wasn't really my thing because it sounded like nu metal and I was trying to move away from that. But then I checked out this one, and this is obviously very thrashy, very good. Jeff Waters in Carcass. Jeff Waters is the main man behind Annihilator. He now lives in Newcastle, here in the UK, and has his own studio up this way. And yeah, amazing guitar player, and you kind of watch his videos and you think how effortlessly he makes it look. He's a bit of a weirdo in my eyes when you see him talk, and how eccentric he is about the band, and almost sounds deluded to how popular he used to be. And then later on, they kind of fizzled out. They're obviously still very popular, but they're not the band they were, obviously. But this is a classic album. And the, you know, title track has been covered by loads of bands. I know Cradle of Filth did a cover of it, which is quite cool. But yeah, this came out in 1989, maybe the year I was born, maybe the year before, 88. This is a 1998 reissue. But yeah, Annihilate was one of them I used to listen to quite a lot, just because it sounded really thrashy and had that technical guitar stuff to it. And then I discovered this album, and to me this is probably their only decent album apart from Persistence in Time, and that is Among the Living by Anthrax. This is thrashy, but you know, not as aggressive as some of the other albums I'm going to show. And it's got all their classics on there. Well, I think they're all their classics. And since then, I don't really care for the back catalogue. I'm not a big Anthrax fan. When people say the Big Four, I wouldn't class them as the Big Four. But I know people have their own opinion of that and what style fits that Big Four. In my opinion, obviously, Metallica is obviously the biggest band. But if you're going Big Four thrash, I'd say Slayer, top of the pile every time. Just all their albums are thrashy. There's not one album, maybe the one I just showed is probably the least thrashy of their whole back catalogue, but yeah. Anthrax are a cool band, but for me, that's the only album that I really am interested in. And then, what was the next one? It would have been this one, wouldn't it? Yeah. So I went and bought this just because it said thrash on it, and it basically gives you a history of all the thrash bands out there. And I thought, brilliant, I'm going to use that, and I'm going to go out and then get all their albums if I like it. And that is the 3 CD box set called This Is Thrash. I have no idea who put this out. Metro Triples, so I think it's like one of those really cheap, like when they've brought the license to A-Track and they've kind of just put it out. But the songs on there are fantastic. There's 3 discs, 15 tracks per disc. And you've got bands like Exodus, Destruction, Armored Saint, Creator, Sodom, Flotsam Jetsam, Voivod, Sacred Reich, Sabbat, you know, Tankard, Death Angel. There's loads on here. But then there's someone here that I wasn't, I mean, I knew of them and I didn't think they were a thrash band, like Chimera, Biohazard, even Celtic Frost. But then early stuff you could maybe say. But yeah, Anthrax is on here. So license wise, I don't know where they got all the license to most of these songs. There's no mention of Metallica or Megadeth on here, or Slayer. DRI is on here, The Crown. So yeah, if you haven't checked that out before, it might be worth your time. But this is what I used to kind of listen to all those German ones. So I didn't know anything about German Teutonic thrash metal or anything like that. So that was really cool to kind of buy this and then discover all those bands. And you know, I love Creator, Destruction, Sodom. They're all great bands. So yeah, so that was my gateway into the broader sense of thrash, and then from there I kind of went away from the bigger known bands and went for the more obscure ones. Well, I thought they were obscure anyway. And one of them was this one, British band Sabbat. I've got the first album and this one on CD. This is my favourite though, with the track Do Dark Horses Dream of Nightmares. There's loads on here, the Clerical Conspiracy. The whole album I love. Absolutely love this album. Vocal wise, it's completely unique to anything I own. It's totally different. I think Martin is his name. Yeah, the singer. His breathing technique for doing the vocals is insane. Like the amount of words he can punch out into a song is ridiculous. And obviously Andy Sneap, guitar player, now big record producer slash, you know, Judas Priest guitarist now, I guess. Well, live anyway. So yeah, brilliant band, and I love that album. And then this one as well, I still think they're a thrash band. A lot of people don't class them as thrash. And then newer stuff, I wouldn't really, I can't get into it, even though it's not bad, it's just not my thing. Iced Earth, they're like a cross between Iron Maiden essentially and thrash, purely on the lead work and the vocal style. I still love Iced Earth, the early stuff especially. This is a compilation of the earlier albums, and this has got some great songs on here. Really good band, like Dante's Inferno. That song is about 9 minutes long and it's really epic. Even their concept albums, like the Horror Show concept album, I need to get a copy of that. That's brilliant. It's got some fantastic tracks on it, but it's not thrashy, it's more just heavy metal, I guess. But their earlier stuff is just pure thrash, and yeah, I think they're fantastic. Still think they're fantastic. Their artwork, all, you know, the whole lot. Because as I was I kind of liked Iron Maiden at the time when I was in high school. These guys had the artwork that kind of appealed to me, and it was really cool and dark looking and skeletons and stuff like that. So I was instantly hooked, and musically they were really good as well. And then this band, I brought this CD first, the Best of Sepultura. Got this really cheap when I was in HMV as a teenager, and to me this CD is the best of from Roadrunner. Put out in 2006. Yeah, this kind of covers the base of everything for me. So I listened to this right at the tail end of high school, just as I left, I think, and I discovered these guys. And yeah, I was kind of moving away from thrash almost. I was kind of getting some more classic rock stuff like Thin Lizzy and that, just as I left high school. But these guys really rekindled my interest in it just as I was waning off it. Troops of Doom, Inner Self, Arise, Dead Embryonic Cells. You know, it's got all the classics on there, and I think you can get this really cheap now. But at the time, this was brand new when I bought it, and it really inspired me to go check out all their albums. So I went and got Roots because that had that new metal sound that I remember, and I really liked it. But this one really appealed to me. This is a split between their very first two releases, which is Morbid Visions and Bestial Devastation, which looks like that. So this is a cool look at the band in their really primitive years. So it's really messy, really nasty sounding, and it's proper old school thrash sound, which I really enjoyed, because you got lots of thrash bands that are really overproduced and ultra clear, whereas this was really nasty sounding, kind of like those early black metal albums you're going to get. Some of them sound really shit, you can't make it out, and a lot of that is like this on here. It's really hard to see what's going on, but because they're such a big band now, it's really cool to see how they all started out. And yeah, I think this is way more fun than the newer stuff of theirs anyway. It's not really Sepultura anymore either, is it? Without the Caballero brothers, in my opinion anyway. And then the last thrash band, this is probably the last CD I ever bought from a thrash band. I discovered these guys from the TV. They were playing on Scuzz in a Battle of the Bands competition in a boxing ring. And they had like to go round for round, they'd play a track, and then people would hold up some placards to vote from. Kind of like an X Factor kind of vibe to it. Really, I can't remember what it was called, but it was really weird. But I remember watching it, and it was very vivid, and I really enjoyed watching them. And it reminded me of that Puppets and Justice for All era Metallica mixed with the kind of Megadeth faster tracks. And that is the band Evil here from the UK. This is their second release that came out on Earache Records in 2009. And this is literally the last thrash album I ever got, or ever bought, up to today. You know, I've not bought a thrash album since then. And I got this brand new when it came out in 2009. Sadly, their bass player passed away just after this tour, I think. I saw them live a couple of times here in Norwich. They supported, I think it was Megadeth on one of their albums that had Chris Broderick on guitar. But they had Job for a Cowboy support, which was a death metal band at the time, and everyone hated that. Everyone hated it. No one got it. You got two thrash bands that are really good, and then a death metal band that kind of did that new hardcore vibe death metal that no one likes. Yeah, I mean, this band are fantastic. They were really underrated, and they've kind of gone off the radar now. But at the time, they were brilliant, and they were on par. And I could picture them being as big as Metallica at one point, just because the sound, the style. I mean, they weren't doing anything new, as a lot of thrash bands are these days. You kind of see bands now with chemical written in there, especially in Consecration. I've played with loads of thrash bands. We've been on bills with some of them, and they're going a million miles an hour, and we're doing about 5 miles an hour, and it's just terrible booking. And you watch them and you think, well, you're not doing anything new, as we're probably not either. And they're doing stuff like chemical attack, chemical warfare, and it's all based off that, and they're all wearing fucking high tops, denim cut-offs with all the thrash bands on it. And I get it, but at the same time, if you're going to try and stand out and then they're complaining afterwards they're not getting booked, they're not signed yet, all that kind of thing, because you're not doing anything new. These guys I thought were doing something new at the time. I mean, the formula and the style was similar to the older bands, but they had a vibe about them that was different. It was more genuine. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel copied. Because some bands even dress like they're heroes, and it's just weird. I don't get it. I mean, I probably say we're guilty of that sometimes as well. We try and mimic certain bands just to stand out. Not anymore, really, but we did. But yeah. Definitely go and check out Evil if you haven't, because I don't know how much these cost, and there's a few after this that have come out. I think they were a brilliant band, and I believe they are still going, but they're nowhere near as good as what they used to be, especially in the first 2 albums. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a bit of a long one, kind of talking about a genre I don't really know much about apart from my youth or what I remember of it. It was something I used to kind of throw all my attention at, and as I got older it's kind of disappeared. But watching the VC, and a lot of people still love thrash, kind of remind me, why don't I listen to these anymore? There's no reason not to like them. Just because I do death and doom, why can't I listen to these? So it's really inspired me to just kind of do this video and say, you know, I know thrash, I have thrash CDs, so yeah. So yeah, please subscribe if you haven't already and enjoyed this video. Let me know, talk in the comments, let me know what your favourite thrash albums are, bands, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.